The first ever bunny-fox partnership in ZPD history is back on the case, once again attempting to tackle systemic injustice, greed, corruption, and facing one's own personal shortcomings. So of course I brought my children with me to see what they thought. I'm Clint Gage, and this is my review with the help of my 6 and 11-year-olds of Zootopia 2.
My family will finally be able to come home.
I am here. Hopps and Wild. Dream team. We got him.
Reviewing what are ostensibly kids' movies is kind of tricky. On the one hand, I've got a film critic hat and I like to wear it.
Could you show me that clip again? Wasn't wearing my glasses.
But on the other hand, it's easy to say, it's a kids' movie. So on the surface, Zootopia 2 is a bunch of cartoon animals solving crime and making jokes and learning to love and appreciate each other. But lurking beyond that silliness is a seedy underbelly of social criticism that deserves to be taken seriously. And just a quick aside about the experience of press screenings, though, sometimes it's me and like 9 other critics in an IMAX theater watching a movie that's supposed to be, super fun and energetic, but nothing kills a vibe faster than 400 empty seats in front of a 7-story screen. And my Zootopia screening, it was much more open than that. They'd given away tickets to families, and it was closer to what the show times will be like out in the wild. And that kind of thing, it really makes a difference, which is why I wanted to watch this movie with my kids, so that when my film critic hat got a little too tight, I could check in with them. For example, the look of the film, I would say, is gorgeous. The animation style is the same colorful palette as the first Zootopia, but new terrains and more ambitious lighting gave the animators a chance to really flex 10 years worth of technological development. Meanwhile, my daughter, aged 11, said, "My favorite part was when they snuck into the gala. It was funny because they were in the tundra, but Judy was wearing a sleeveless dress and somehow not cold. And I'm pretty sure parts of that house were ice." So, bonus points for the production design of the gala sequence, and be on the lookout for parts of that house that are ice. Let's see, she also liked, oh, nope, that's a spoiler. Oh, here, I liked how we got, nope, actually that's a spoiler too. I have to have a talk with her about spoilers in these reviews. But the sequence my kid is talking about here is a truly thrilling little microcosm of what works best about the world of Zootopia. There's a charming back and forth between our odd couple protagonists and a real understanding on the part of the filmmakers of building suspense in a detective story. The action is also spot on, with each beat of the sequence being set up and paid off visually, and little throwaway jokes on the way into the scene become punchlines on the way out.
This is not your worst idea.
Wow, that was almost a compliment.
Your worst idea is what you did with your ears.
The whole sequence of sneaking into a snowy chateau as part of an off-the-books investigation, then escaping via action sequence that's equal parts rad and funny, is given James Cameron and True Lies vibes, which very much speaks to my sensibilities.
Here's my invitation.
And in spite of the fact that Judy Hopps wasn't too cold in that dress, it resonated with my 11-year-old as well. Now that level of quality in the nuts and bolts of the filmmaking was present in 2016's Zootopia as well. But the other thing both movies excel at, beyond anything else, is the high quality animal puns. Now every square inch of this movie is covered in clever little animal jokes, like how the pair of ram detectives are named after goat cheeses, or the catering company is called a moose bouche. I'm sorry, but it's just hard not to get charmed by that sort of thing, especially when it's as wall-to-wall as it is here in Zootopia 2. And I'm confident there are 1,000 of those jokes in the background that I missed. Now on this topic, my daughter said, "I liked the puns too." Okay, so I think that was a little more about me talking about the puns nonstop, and so read that with a little more eye rolling. I like the puns too, Dad, is probably what that is. But my 6-year-old son said, "My second favorite part was when the fox said, 'Ah, a viper.'" Now that doesn't seem like a pun now, but there is a punchline. I just didn't want to ruin it. Also, it's worth noting my son couldn't decide on what his favorite part of the movie was, but apparently this moment was his second favorite.
I am here.
One of my other favorite parts was when Judy asked, nope, actually, that's also a spoiler. You know what? They're new to this keeping spoilers out of reviews thing, so I'll work with them. Zootopia 2 speeds along at a really nice clip, with both the plotting and the action sequences moving at a great pace, except for one spot where the movie just kind of screeches to a halt for some exposition dumping. There's a scene as the film starts to steer towards the home stretch where the MacGuffin is over-explained. The steps of the plan that's going to save the day are rattled off amidst gauzy flashbacks that sketch out what needs to happen in the last 20 or 30 minutes of the movie in a way that had me checking my watch, frankly. The plan that Judy, Nick, and their new allies have is perfectly clear. It already made sense before they hammered it into place in this sequence, but the determination, the fervor with which they explained everything to me had me thinking, wait, does it make sense? Did I miss something?
Hey, bub.
Hey, bub.
Hey, bub.
Hey, bub.
It's a spot in the script that frankly doesn't need to be there, because in retrospect, the ride that the film's final act goes on is perfectly clear. But that is admittedly some extreme fur splitting. It does kind of go back to the idea of the two ways to think about reviewing a kid's movie, though. They might have over-explained everything so that 6 and 11-year-old kids like mine don't get lost, but still, I would argue even they weren't lost in the first place. It's just a thing that bugs me, and otherwise smart and confident storytelling, like, just show a little bit of trust in the audience to pick it up. But honestly, I've already harped on it too much. The critic hat getting a little tight.
Can you tell us about your journey to Dysfunction Junction?
But also, like the first film, Zootopia 2 dives headlong into some pretty weighty issues. Racism and prejudice are at the forefront of this movie again, this time with the added layer of generational theft.
Please, you don't have to hurt him.
The sequel introduces an obviously nefarious family of lynx that have for decades held a corrupt grip on the city. An exiled snake trying to restore his good name, and a former movie star horse turned mayor voiced by the always welcome baritone of Patrick Warburton.
Where's the bunny?
These new characters and the voice actors portraying them, Huy Quan, David Strathairn, and Andy Samberg in particular, are a blast, even though they don't leave much room for return supporting characters, like my wife's favorite, Clawhauser. In fact, her exact quote was, "Not enough Clawhauser for me." Definitive.
O-M goodness.
While these new characters are well drawn and fit right into the natural and empathetic performances of the returning cast, they don't necessarily throw new light on the topics the writers are illuminating. Again, with a smorgasbord of social issues like corruption, systemic prejudice, cultural erasure, old lies becoming the current truth, even the unfair pressure on a trailblazer to be perfect lest she ruin opportunities for those wanting to follow in her paw prints, Zootopia 2 might be trying to wrangle a few too many important topics into its menagerie. There really is so much happening in this movie that I believe it's fair to criticize the film for just kind of pointing at these issues rather than engaging with any one of them in a thorough way. Now, the sequel, like its predecessor, instead doubles down on Judy's desire to enact change. Hopps wants more than anything to make a difference and knows the hard truth that things will never change unless somebody stands up and tries to change them. It's this belief that is the defining difference between her and Nick Wilde, her Fox partner, that is also the heart of this story. Now, it's a relentlessly hopeful outlook, one that borders on naive, and depending on the day I'm having, it's not a message that I buy into all of the time, particularly in a movie that features cops following corrupt orders raiding a marginalized part of town, which turned out to be a probably more dramatic than they intended scene to watch given current events. Strangely enough, this is another similarity between Zootopia 2 and the first film, in that it can be a surprisingly dark movie at times. The good news is, though, I got to talk to my kids about what they felt watching these events unfold on screen. What parts of the story were scary? When were they happy? When were they sad? They both even teared up in multiple moments. And I asked them what moments specifically made them cry, and my daughter said, just all the emotional ones. To which I followed up with, which emotions? To which she answered, all of them, I guess. The final cry tally, by the way, for my daughter was 2.5 times. Once she cried because she was sad, once because she was happy, and the half a time was a scary part. While my son only cried once, but it was happy crying. And having a whole ride home to chat about why was really kind of nice. So maybe Zootopia 2 doesn't mind the complete depths of the issues it raises about our society, and maybe it oversimplifies the answers in the interests of tying their story up in a neat little kid-friendly boa constrictor, but it asks important questions that are worth talking about. And based on the reactions my kids had and the conversations we had after the movie, all the right feelings got through. Empathy and compassion and fairness are never a bad thing, and Zootopia found a way to get all of them, I guess, to resonate with my kids.
Hey, Flash, 100-yard dash. We need to get across town.
No problem.
So, Zootopia 2 is getting an 8. It brings all the same great animated whodunit action and clever animal jokes as the 2016 version, with a welcome new cast of allies and villains for our mismatched heroes Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde. The look of the sequel builds off the vibrant world of the original, and while thematically the movie may bite off more than it can chew, Zootopia 2, like its bunny cop hero, exudes a contagious hope that things can always change. Also, even though I'm really starting to get tired of characters watching YouTube videos as a delivery method for important narrative information, in Zootopia they call it YouTube, E-W-E, like a female sheep. Just a real solid pun. That's what me and my kids thought of Zootopia 2. Let me know if you're excited for it in the comments below, and for more reviews about hopeful outlooks on the future, maybe check out our review of The Running Man. Or maybe don't. That's not what that movie does either. I'm not sure that these qualify as good double features though. But for more movie stuff in general, be sure to subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.